We got very interested in the opportunities around transitioning from wild fishery to aquaculture, not to eliminate wild fisheries, but to enhance wild fisheries by developing a new infrastructure for the oyster itself. That led us into developing oyster growing equipment, which to me was an opportunity to expand our company. We've gone through many changes and ups and downs and everything you can imagine. But then I guess about 3 or 4 years ago, I saw the concept of SOPS. After seeing the concept of being able to really compact a fairly large scale growing operation on a platform that could be placed in deeper water, that could be using solar energy, that aligned itself with societal expectations of where we need to go with any industry at this point in time. And that led into conversations about how we could help Steve's group and moving the concept forward.
The initial concept was basically floating solar energy, and then as a kind of an afterthought, well, maybe we could somehow grow oysters underneath the platform. And then it quickly became aware that it made more sense to use the solar energy to help somehow the production process to grow the oysters. And it made more sense financially from a business standpoint to use that solar energy to automate the process. So we evolved the technology over several years through private investment. We built a prototype, 40 by 25 feet, that was launched in the Baltimore Harbor. And we had a very productive partnership with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation in that we partnered with them to help them bolster their oyster gardening program in the Baltimore Harbor. And part of that partnership was they provided to us spat-on shell oysters, and we grew those oysters in 2022 and 2023. They were ultimately outplanted to an oyster reef at the mouth of the Baltimore Harbor. And in 2 years, we grew, CBF estimated over 400,000 oysters. And in addition to that, again, because the purpose of the prototype is to help prove or validate this technology, we also grew triploid oysters from seed. And over 2 years, again, Baltimore Harbor is not the ideal location to grow oysters, but we experienced really high survivability and really good growth rates. We ended that effort in the harbor, and in the concurrent period of time, as Johnny indicated, he and I have known each other for a few years at various conferences, in particular through the Chesapeake Oyster Alliance, of which both of our organizations are members of, and entered into a conversation, and we felt it made a lot of sense to partner with Blue Oyster Environmental. Very well-known company with Hooper Island Oyster Company within the industry, not only as a grower, but equipment manufacturer and distributor. And we're really excited about this opportunity. We moved the prototype with Johnny's help down to Fishing Bay last fall. The goal is to deploy it on their lease so that it can really show that it can operate successfully on an oyster aquaculture farm. So we think it has a lot of potential. It's something that, again, uses clean, sustainable energy, and it is able to produce a very high volume of oysters on a very small footprint compared to a traditional oyster farm. So there's a lot of positives.
What are the challenges, though? How does the state look at these kind of collaborative efforts?
Well, I could weigh in our experience. From the very beginning, we worked very closely with all the key state and federal agencies, the Maryland Department of Environment, Department of Natural Resources, the Corps of Engineers, to name just a few, because we wanted to get not only their feedback on the concept of the technology, but we knew that ultimately, if this were to be deployed in Maryland waters, their approval would be needed. So generally, the reaction has been very positive. Again, traditional float farms, depending on where they are, sometimes can create problems in terms of water user conflicts because of the large acreages required. Sometimes, depending again on where they're sited, there can be concerns of visual impacts because people don't want to see a lot of floats on the water outside their home or their view. And what this does is it consolidates all that again in a very small footprint. And as Johnny indicated, one of the values of this technology is it pushes the production process further offshore, so it's not as near shore.
The biggest challenge is to take this to market, to the commercial market, is going to be the upfront capital investment. the other side of that though is platform is developed the way that we envision it to be. It's going to be a lot of hands off with the husbandry and all the traditional things, labor intense practices that's involved in growing oysters in the traditional way. So we're going to have to figure out how to transition the capital investment into depreciation over time. The other one I would say will be the permitting, and that's not only true to SOPS, but across the board in Maryland, especially with the state of Maryland's process of getting a oyster lease permit. Yeah. So some of those things are well known issues across the state. I would say those two things are the biggest challenges, but on the other side, there's so many benefits that this platform is going to bring.
What do you guys see in a year's time?
Well, our plan is to immediately start doing the things that are needed to get this year's testing done, and then the hopes are that the result of this year's testing will be that we've got a plan to go to production and manufacturing of these units and take them directly to market in a very aggressive way. This year is to prove concept, what the labor intensity looks like compared to traditional farming, and then to have a design that we can efficiently manufacture and take to market.
Is there anything else you'd like the community to know about?
No, we're just really excited about partnering with Johnny and Jordan. Again, we think there's a lot of opportunities here, not only for Maryland and jobs potentially on the Eastern Shore, which is always a good thing, and to really build potentially for the state itself, Maryland's exposure with the technology that has the potential at least to really be a game changer for the entire industry.